Well, I am excited to have Elmer Eng with us today. He's actually a friend of my daughter Reese, and he is Norwegian, and he is about to marry his girlfriend for a long time, Sarah, and my wife calls Sarah her Norwegian daughter, and they're a great couple. And the reason I wanted to have Elmer on is even though the World Cup is over, I thought we could get a little bit better view of of from somebody's perspective who is actually Norwegian and what it was like to be here. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Elmer. He's a native of Nesbru, Norway. He came to the United States to play college soccer at North Central College in Naperville. We all know where Naperville is, where he spent 3 seasons as a 6'4" forward and midfielder for the Cardinals, appearing in 54 games between 2017 and 19, and most important, earning academic all CCIW honors all 3 years. He majored in interactive media, played club soccer. He was in Texas this summer for the matches. And what's interesting is that Elmer came to the United States, of course, and lived here and went back to Norway. But so he's here as sort of a translator between those who have never been in the U.S. before, who are Norwegian, and he, who is, now partially American because of the time he spent here. So, Elmer, how exciting was it for you and tell us about your journey? You went to Texas to watch a bunch of games. Tell us about that.
Yeah, thanks, John, for the nice presentation. I went to New York actually, and watched one of the Norwegian games against Senegal, and it was a good time. It was a lot of Norwegians. It was raining, but that didn't matter. And it was a lot of rowing, as you probably have seen. Yeah,
Let's talk
just
about this rowing. What is behind it? How did it start? And explain how the because it's grown. It's gone all over the world, right? People are rowing. So talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I guess we're all a little bit tired of it. But in the beginning, it was a lot of fun. I think it's just started as the Norwegian fans really had to do something that reminded people of Vikings, and that's where it came from. And you do it 3 or 4 times a game, and it's a good time.
Who started it, Elmer? This rowing. We're going to
I
row
have
right now. We're going to row a
I
little
have
bit
no
right
idea.
now, right? Did you row?
I did, yeah, for sure.
So I understand you had a friend on the team. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
And who was that?
His name is Sander. Sander Berge, we say in Norwegian. His name is being butchered all over England where he plays. But yeah,
And did you play soccer with him? And how good of a player is he?
I actually never played with him because he was from the beginning when we were 6 or 7 years old. Or yeah, he went to play with much older guys. So yeah, never got the chance.
Well, how good is he?
He's extremely good. Yeah, and he was extremely good. He was like a child star as well. So definitely not a late bloomer.
And how did you get to know him, Elmer?
Through I guess you would call it middle school. Um, so yeah, pretty early, and been following his career ever since, and it's been a lot of fun. It was proud to see him play in the World Cup.
And then what about is it Holland, right? Your greatest, a great player. Tell us a little bit about him because they're buddies. Which do you know Holland too?
No, I don't.
But your buddy played with him, and
Yeah,
tell us a little bit about his status in Norway. Holland. How do we say it? Holland.
yeah. The Holland is
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. No, I feel like his status in Norway has sort of for many years now been maybe the same as it's starting to be in the world. Because in Norway he's been like the number one star, and now after the World Cup, I feel like the whole world is picking up on him, and he's quite the character, you could say. the symbol of the Viking spirit and the with the hair and everything. So yeah.
Elmer, when we talk about big sports stars in Norway, before the World Cup, I would have said it was somebody who was a ski racer. Who are the biggest sports stars, and what are the biggest sports that we have in Norway?
Yes, football or soccer, as you call it. I guess that's, the one thing that everyone does. As you say, skiing has a high position in Norway, even though there's not a lot of interest in the world. But skiing for sure I think, is a national sport, cross-country skiing. So we have, big ski stars from Norway, winning in the Olympics um, and we have some good runners. We have some golf players. We have tennis players. So we're starting to go out there, and do good things in sports.
But I would guess that Holland is probably right now the shiniest, brightest shining
Yeah,
star. Would that be
by
right?
f- by far, yeah.
Yeah. So when did you start playing soccer? How old were you?
I think I was about 6 or 7. Yeah, right when starting school.
And then you then you then got better and better. And then how was it that you be able to find this university to go and play soccer there? And did they give you a scholarship? And tell us about that journey.
Yeah, that's a good question. I had no idea what I wanted to do after high school, so I think it was. I heard from a friend or like a family friend that went over and played, and told us that you can get scholarships. So and studying and playing at the same time. And I had there's like an agency in Scandinavia that works with connecting schools and coaches in the US with players. So it was just through that really, and we looked at some different schools, and Naperville's looked like a great place to live. So yeah, that's how that happened.
Elmer, you know, people in the United States, everybody was pretty pumped. We got into we moved along and we were in the final competition, and yet, we were beaten pretty handily by Belgium, as you recall. And the question that I have is, do you think that soccer not having the high status that it might have has kept us from being able to win the World Cup? What would be your observation about U.S. soccer? How good are we?
I mean, you're definitely good. As you said, you made it to the knockouts, so it's a good team. Yeah, I think maybe it's partly because of the interest is not as big as football or baseball or those other huge sports. I think I don't know. There's also a lot of people in your country, so there shouldn't be a reason that you don't have a couple of good ones, but I don't know. I feel like when you come to a level, it's so small margins, which team goes through and which team loses. So I think it's like Norway, they went to the quarterfinals. US made it through. So I think from there, it's just like all the teams are so good. So it's the smallest of margins if you make it all the way.
Now, Elmer, the thing that I found interesting was the emotion that was attached to other nations around the world. I mean, we were disappointed, right? But when you watched any of these other nations, it seemed as though it was like life and or death for them. That it's just so emotional and so intense. Explain that. Why is that the case?
I guess it's something with sports that just connects people in a different way and brings the emotional part out of people. It means a lot to many people, and many countries. And I can say I'm not the most emotional supporter, but watching the Norway games and them scoring is it's almost like you're thinking about if they score, I'm gonna celebrate, but when they actually do, it's like you can't control the joy and emotion, so it's fun.
When Norway beat Brazil, which was a tell us about that night in Norway. What was it like?
It was crazy. It was just the streets were hundred thousands of people in the streets, and I can tell you, Oslo has about 600,000 people living in it. So 100,000 people showing up in the streets is it's a good part of the city's um, people. So it was insane. Just singing and having a good time.
And no violence, right, at all. Just pure joy.
No, yeah, yeah, just good times. Thankfully, no violence.
So Elmer, uh, when you already knew a lot about the U.S., but there were Norwegians who came over who had never been here before. What did they think when they were? I mean, when you talked to them, what were they thinking when they came? What were they expecting?
I don't know. I think they Norwegians that haven't been to the US have a very like media and mostly like movie and series influenced expectation of what is going to meet them. They've seen the big Hollywood movies and the series, and they expect America to be this like film. So I guess a lot of people are just uh, also with it being what it is when you go to, for example, New York, like with it is a lot of famous things that you've only seen through media that you now get to see yourself. So it's a lot of impressed Norwegians, and yeah, just like finding the joy of the smallest things. I read that I think it was Germans that was so surprised about ranch dressing. That was the one thing, if they got to bring something home, it was ranch dressing.
So Elmer, when you're did you have friends that came over, or were there Norwegians, that you didn't know and you hung out with? I mean, who were you with?
I traveled with a friend, and I also had a bunch of friends that were going to the same game, that were there for a longer time as well. So, but you walk around Manhattan and you see people in Norway jerseys, and it's just like, I mean, you can clearly tell who's Norwegian.
Now,
So
but
it's
Elmer, here what I'm driving at here is, did they come with to say things to you since you have lived in the U.S. for a long time, and you're like, wait a minute, you don't understand. Let me explain this. Let me explain how this works in America. Did you go through some of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is tipping. That's a big one where we're not used to leaving a tip, or sometimes, but like not as much as you do. So that's the biggest difference where I have to teach people how to properly tip at US restaurants.
What did they say to you when you said you got to leave 20%, right?
They're like, "Are you crazy?" But yeah.
What other kinds of things would they not, were they surprised that you had to say, oh, no, 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 this is the way it is here?
I I didn't go to Texas, but I know I have some friends that went there, and Texas brings, I think, a lot more reactions with all the cowboy stuff and the hats and the boots, and so I think that's a bigger culture shock than New York City, for instance.
And did you have any, what did the people who went to Texas, what did they have to say? Did they
It
all want to
seemed
be a
like,
cowboy? Did they want to go,
yeah,
they wanted to be in a rodeo or what? What did they take Texas hats back? Tell me a little
yeah,
bit about that.
hats and boots, and I think. I think some of the biggest cities or the big cities in the US can appear somewhat European in a way because they're so international. And I think Texas is sort of like the more traditional America, where you kind of get more like, I don't know, authentic US traditions with it.
So Elmer, we've been talking about how people from Norway come here and what are their impressions. What is it that Americans should know about Norway? What that we might not know, or might not anticipate, or tell us a little bit about what makes Norway special, and as we go to visit, what we would expect to see.
Most of you know already that I guess, I mean, it's a beautiful country. We have, um, the fjords are very typical. Everybody knows about them. I would say that going to the West Coast is very typical. Um, I feel like if you go to Norway and visit Norway as a US tourist, you always go to the West Coast and see the mountains. But I would say like the south of Norway and the area around Oslo is also underrated going in the summer. Um, Not as big mountains, but definitely beautiful. Um, Even in the winter, if you like skiing, it's not the worst place to be. We get a lot of snow. We don't have the huge skiing facilities like they do in the Alps, but it's fairly fun. Good parties as well after skis. Um, yeah, so I think all year round it's a good destination.
Elmer, have you, having spent 4 years or more in the U.S. going to school, and having Sarah also in the U.S., and I remember when you guys went to the Ohio State football game, and you had to do the OHIO, and I remember that all that going on. That was fun. But have you ever considered living in the U.S., becoming a resident here, you and Sarah? Or what is it about Norway that has you go back? Tell us a little bit about that.
I think me and Sarah are both we agree on this that we could definitely we lived a year in Chicago, or while she was still in school, I worked for a year. And I think we definitely could have lived in the US. We loved Chicago in particular. Um, and the reason we went back and didn't pursue anything else was I, I was kicked out. After a year, I only had a 1 year extension to my visa. So that was the reason for that. But I didn't try to apply for further stay. So I don't know. Um,
Well, if you could have
yeah.
stayed, would you have stayed longer?
It's hard to say. If it was a good working opportunity, then
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
yeah. And when are you going to come back to the U.S.?
I don't know. We want to go back to Chicago because we
Good.
haven't been back since we left in 2022. So we need to plan a trip soon. Yeah,
Okay. Well, you make sure you come to Columbus, Ohio when you come
yeah.
back. Okay.
I need to go during the fall to see a football game.
There you go.
Yeah,
Elmer, thank you for taking the time, and I want to give you wish you the Lord's blessings, and you give our best to Sarah. And Norway brought a lot of excitement. You converted a lot of Americans to start understanding more and rooting for Norway. And I was thrilled when you won that match, and it'll be another one coming. And when I see you, one thing we will do is we will row together. All
for
right?
sure.
All
Yeah.
right, Elmer. Good to see
Thank
you.
you,
Thank you
John.
so much. All right.
Good to see
Goodbye.
you too.